Greetings, everybody. It's Jim. Today, I'm giving you my scenario report for World War One from SPI. This is a great game. Check the video previous to this one if you want to learn about the rules and the whole idea of the game. This is just going to be the scenario report, which, by the way, two things. One, only the first few pictures are going to be at this angle. It will be a little bit easier to see and close up top view later on. And keep in mind that this is the game that I learned from, okay? So there's going to be a lot of tactical errors here, which make it a lot of fun in its own story and its own right. So in a way, there could be some spoilers here for you. I'll say it again like I did in the first video, which may give you an idea, because some of the charm of playing these games are kind of figuring it out by yourself. So with that in mind, let's go through turn number one. All right, so here we have the beginning of the game, turn one, and just an overview. This is where all the pieces are. Up at this top here, the CRPs, the resource points, command resource points, we can see that Germany and Russia are already pretty rich as compared to the other countries. Even Austria-Hungary at this point is a kind of a little poor, but that will change as turns progress. We have Germany and France already fighting it out here, and Austria-Hungary and Italy fighting it out here. This is not going to change. There's not going to be any sweeping movements, I'll tell you that right now, other than the errors that I do early on in the game. I told you before that, I did do some early retreats, which was a complete mistake. I should have just, experienced players will just hold their ground and lose the CRPs. That's how that's going to go. Austria-Hungary will be able to react to the Russians, which you'll also know that on this turn one, there are no German units other than the ones that are already fighting France. Okay, so Russia's coming on over, and then Germany will be able to produce their units wherever they think that they are needed. So they'll have a little bit of advantage there, even though it seems like Russia will have an advantage. They get to they're going to commit their forces though. So let's take a look at what happens by the start of turn two. All right, so here's the beginning of turn two, and as you can see up here, there are some retreats from France here, but that's actually because they ran out of CRPs. So maybe I misspoke. I thought I was retreating early with some units, but maybe I didn't. But basically, yeah, France ran out of CRPs. Everybody's a little bit CRP poor right now, even Germany, because they had to bring on as many units as they could. They got the 3 units, it's 5 apiece, so that's 15 off them. So Russia's actually the rich boy now with 21 CRPs. So down here to where the action is, of course, Germany and France still having at it. There are some British forces and some U.S. forces coming in. And you'll find in this game when the forces come in from this side, they actually aren't going to bolster these forces because they're not moving. There's no reason for them to move and retreat unless they're really running out of CRPs. Later on, I realized that I actually should bring them down here and across the Adriatic Sea, if that's Adriatic Sea, and just try to maneuver and surround Austria-Hungary supply lines, and that's what happens later. Russia, I take the very basic view of what to do with them, and that is to go after the resource points, the pickaxe and the shovel hexes for 5 points apiece. Not thinking anything of using them to go up against the supply lines of Austria-Hungary or even Russia up here. All right, which really is a viable option. But for Germany, I definitely think that strategy of Russia's going after my resource points, so I have to defend. Nowhere do I think early on about trying to make Russia surrender by taking the four major cities away from them here and here, because right now Russia left them wide open. And remember, these gray hexes are 2 movement points, and every unit's got 5, so 2 movement points to move through. So they're going to have a harder time if Germany would just decide to slide in here, which they easily could do along rail hexes that only cost 1/3 of a point to move. I mean, you could really move them like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. I mean, they can move right here on one turn. They could capture most of them, which would be the end for most of these Russian units. Mind you, when Russian units are made, they're made against the edge here. So they would probably be able to defend pretty quickly. But at the same time, it's or even outflank them and just take away their supply points. But nonetheless, it's something I did not consider. I just said, oh, the Russians are going after my resource points. I'm going to defend my resource points or counterattack directly. So, and the thing is about going after the 4 major cities of Russia and making them surrender, every turn that, the Central Powers get tons of points if they take that early, and they're supposed to, because the Allies are going to get a 75-point bonus just in the game in general, just because of naval superiority. All right, so they're already getting a bonus. It's kind of funny. They don't get the bonus until turn 10, which I guess is just for dramatic effect. Because they're getting it no matter what any player does. So, for all intents and purposes, they could get those points on turn 1. But I get it for dramatic purposes. So anyway, let's go on to turn 3. All right, so here's the top of turn 3. Now, we're not going to go over a lot of what happens down here because there's just a whole bunch of nada with all these. I mean, maybe Turkey is going to go into Bulgaria soon or something like that. But really, it's just to mess things up because they don't have the firepower to really do it. So a lot of nothing happens here in the game, and I don't know, why they would come into the game other than history. So if you know by playing the game, let me know in the comments below. It also might change because I played the historical version rather than the free deployment version, which may change everything off of its rocker. Okay, so let me know. Anyway, all the actions taking place up here, and as we can see, France didn't spend anything on turn 2 because it didn't have anything. So it's not going to spend anything on turn 3 as far as bringing new forces in. It's learned its lesson about retreating and is brought everybody back that it could. Very important here. The Allies always move first in this game. Okay, one of the things that I thought would be a really interesting point, and I don't know if I mentioned this in the other video, that there is something in the game about initiative and who gets to attack first. And it's the side that has the most combined CRPs at the beginning of the game, or the turn. And I thought that was good for initiative, but I also thought that would really add something for movement, because with the Allies always moving first, they always can get their ground back, while the Central Forces cannot. And I was thinking that would be a good alternate game plan for making CRPs really tough to spend and really try to figure things out. Because if you could move first, if the Central Powers could move first, that'd be a great thing. So I don't know if that would work or not. I'd love to experiment with it. Anyway, on to what we were doing. At first, I'm thinking here, you're seeing a lot of German forces over here and not over here. I'm thinking Austria-Hungary, they built a lot. Russia built a lot, and they come in along this line. And as you can see, they're going to fight over some resource points. While Germany, I'm thinking, they're going to bolster the defenses over here and attack more. And maybe a few units would be good on that. But again, there's not a lot of units that are going to get wiped off the map. And I explained that why in the other video, the way the CRP system works. So it's a few German units hang back just to defend these resource points, and maybe get a few zones of control in there so they can't get overrun. And basically, though, not a lot of units have attacked. And you see the Austria-Hungary, those are the ones that I retreated a lot with because I didn't want to lose the CRPs. But because of that, Italy just went bloop and just went one up, with everybody just about. And they probably could have gotten that stronghold. Not that they can use the stronghold, but, it makes it so Austria-Hungary cannot retake it, which was kind of important. So anyway, let's go on to turn number 4, where maybe some more action happens. All right, so here's the beginning of turn 4. And as you can see up here with the CRP charts, I'm scared to spend anything. I'm also scared to attack with anything. That's the only thing here. Germany should be down lower, and everything should be lower because I didn't want to attack. I was retreating them. As you can see, I was really retreating the forces all around. The idea is, while they're low, unfortunately, I'm letting the Allies gain their CRPs and banking them from turn to turn. Where you're supposed to make them to the brink of disaster every time and maybe they'll retreat. Now they're just not going to. And I'm going to have a harder time getting them to retreat. Even one turn, you have to put up the pressure, I learned, every single time at the cost of a lot. Because you'll roll, mind you, you're rolling 3 times because there's 3 different attacks every phase for every unit that you could throw at them. So yeah, you're going to get those losses that are like, oh, you could lose almost 10 to 12 CRPs just for one unit attacking. But because there's so many dice rolled, it's really going to average out. And yeah, you'll lose maybe 8 or 9 and they'll lose maybe 6 or 5. But that's the ratio that it's got to be. And you've got the money to spend, or the CRPs to spend, so you should do it. Now down here, we see, again, my game plan coming in where Russia is just kind of, right now, Austria-Hungary and Germany's in trouble. I don't realize it yet because I'm concentrated on getting those resource points and fighting Germany for those. I am not thinking, because if you're looking at this right now and you're thinking supply points, these Austria-Hungary forces, they're done. If Russia decides to wise up and just say voomf and just bam, there it is, this game could be over already if I don't realize it. They could just cut them off and all of a sudden, or even 1 or 2 units, doesn't even have to be all of them, just 1 or 2 units, make a small chain, boom, 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 and bam, 2 units are going to be gone, and then all of a sudden, Italy's going to have a stronghold there. They're going to take all that over, and all of a sudden, this is going to be a different game. So anyway, let's go over to turn 5. All right, so here we are at the beginning of turn 5, and everybody's still CRP rich. Nothing going on up here. Yeah, there's more German forces up here to push the line that's supposed to be attacking, but France is actually doing a good job. One of the things that I did recall is they were rolling terrible up there. They were getting results. We look at the CRT charts here. They were constantly rolling like 4 zeros, 5 ones, things of that nature. I just remember that Germany was getting nailed, and it scared me off a little bit from just keep on pushing the attack. Down here, there's some more German forces that actually tried to bolster the Austria-Hungary forces because they're a little bit weaker, getting that extra 2 differential. I was thinking would make a difference, and if it was odds-based, it would. But the differential chart here, it's there, but it's not as exponential as it would be on an odds chart. Your odds do go up and more in your favor, but not so much. But it's better than nothing, so there they are, so there's that. And here we have the Russian forces definitely seem like they're going again. 1 unit's here, but it's going after the resource point. It's not even going after these guys at all, which later on, as I mentioned, they will. So the majority of them are going in here, just trying to fight the Russians. Austria-Hungary. Over these resource points here. And this is where really a lot of the gobbledygook that takes place pretty quickly is going to be kind of funny. And of course, Germany's just trying to hold its ground, and everybody's doing these little attacks all over the place, which is not what you want to do. You actually want to have a coordinated attack. I think you can see if you've played this game, you're like, Jim, your units are all over the place. And that's true. You probably make a more non-chaotic attack and more committed somewhere. So anyway, let's go over to, so I just call it a communications error on everybody's part for whatever reason to make it exciting. So let's check out turn 6. So here we have the top of turn 6, and I'm showing you here what's going on between Turkey and Bulgaria here, because what I found out is, they're both CRP poor, very poor. To the point where they can't even retreat. They're going to be losing units, and there's going to be a lot of cutting off supply units on the part of, I believe, Bulgaria to Turkey. So these units just get surrounded and just go off the map real quick. So back up here, again, everybody's got plenty of CRP. Russia, Germany, and Austria-Hungary got so much, and I'm playing chicken with them so badly. Around here, now I'm getting the idea that they got to keep pressing the fight. It might be a little bit late here because, as you can see, Britain comes up to bolster some forces to give them some better numbers. I'm really playing kind of old school on this with the idea of odds charts in my head. I'm just going off of instinct here. Again, nobody's coming over to cross the Adriatic Sea to kind of swoop in yet. And so over here is where all the action's really taking place. Austria-Hungary do fend off the Russians to a good bit. The Russians are having a bad battle at it, but they're not losing any CRP. As a matter of fact, this is a surplus. They are above 95. I'm keeping track off board. They have so much. So Germany cannot move them. So right now I'm like, geez, what am I going to do? So what I'm finally getting the idea that I can surround them and knock them off of their supply points. And I can see that Russia's just trying to hold on to maybe their cities and such, or is that one moving around? I'm trying to remember. But basically, Russia's just trying to get into the resource points. But soon, this is where I find out that they're about to lose some units up here because of supply. And that's when I learned this game gets all topsy-turvy real quick. Alright, so here we have the beginning of turn 7, and no, it's not turn 10 as it shows there. I've been using that 12-sided die, that beautiful 12. It's a D12 D3 die from Steve Jackson Games. Nice little resin D12, by the way. It's a 12-sided die, but those pips at the top actually denote D3. So it's a nice die. Link is down below if you want to get it from Steve Jackson Games. But no, it's turn 7. I was using that to record at this point the excess that Russia had in CRPs, okay? So on the left-hand side here, we can see that, not much is changing. I mean, it's so hard to, it's already turned 7, and it's just too late to really try to make these guys pour. I'm pouring on the attacks, but because I let up so many other turns and let them save their points, they ain't moving and they're standing in the ground just fine. But here is where the interesting part is happening. I'll get back to that in a second, because now it looks like a more major effort going on against those resource points. But this is where I find out about the supply lines, and we'll get to that in a second. And then Bulgaria and Turkey are going through over here. So let's show what's happening over here. See, the thing is, the Austrian-Hungary forces moved in to defend against to attack against or defend against those resource points. Russia moved in to surround them, and then Germany surrounded the Russians. And then all of a sudden, there was this chain reaction to supply points where I realized that I'm like, okay, the Russians got Austria-Hungary surrounded. All right, good enough. And then I'm like realizing that, oh, wait a minute, some of the German forces just did that to Russia. So like by the end of it all, so many units were gone. This is what the everything looked like at the end of the turn. So it's like, wow. And even down here, some action happened where Turkey not only made Bulgaria retreat so much, they were already out of CRP, so bam, they were gone, and they cut off the other unit that was behind, that was retreating, cut off from its only supply right there in Sofina, I believe, but their supply point, so it was gone. So Bulgarian forces right off the map. So that is turn 7. Let's see what turn 8 has with my newbound information about how supply works. All right, so here we are in turn 8, mid-turn in turn 8, after movement phase, actually. And as you can see, this is where now my ideas are all about supply, and Russia's taking full advantage of it, trying to outmaneuver Austria-Hungary out there, and being able to move first. Again, the Allies have a distinct advantage here, and they get to get that every turn. So they're moving here, and of course I'm taking care not to be outflanked by Germany, so we have that big chain reaction that we did last turn. and using zones of control because, I mean, they're big. Zones of control are big. They cover 3 hexes technically. So Germany's having a hard time getting around, so they're not going to be able to. And 1 or 2 units, I believe, for Austria-Hungary are going to bite the dust, if not almost all of them here. And Germany can't do anything about it. They can't crawl in fast enough to catch up with them. And of course, everybody over here, I'm still trying to whittle away, and it's just to no fruition. Turn 8, nothing going on over here. Turkey is deciding to. Oh, I am getting some units over into crossing the Adriatic Sea soon. They're going to be over here next turn. They're not going to be able to get into play too quickly, and Russia's already going to be doing the job that these units would be doing had I had thought of bringing them over turns earlier. Matter of fact, Turkey, instead of coming through here, because they really can't go through, Serbia and Romania because they're not really in the war, and that would actually give points to the opposite side, I believe. So Turkey just decided that we're just going to go the long way. When you go into the sea, once you go into that, your whole entire turn can just be going anywhere on the sea. The only exception is you can't go into the Baltic Sea where Russia is or anything like that. You can pretty much go up here or over here because it is 6 months. So it's pretty much anywhere. Or I don't think you can go into the Black Sea in the bottom here either. I don't recall. But basically, this is where most people are going to go. So that's what's happening now on turn 8. Let's see how everything goes. And so here's the beginning of the end, really. It's the aftermath of turn 8, the beginning of turn 9, after the movement phase, actually. Again, France and Germany up here. France can't dislodge. Germany can't dislodge France. Get them down to maybe 3 or 4 CRPs, and then they just regain it all the next turn. It was just a little bit too much too late. Look how much I'm spending up here with all the attacks. Now, with that in mind, they were spending so much, and truthfully, I did some horrific rolls for Germany. But the point is, had they attacked earlier, we might see a little bit more tension up there with France, and they might have had been forced to retreat a few times. But then again, Germany would have been very CRP poor themselves. So that would have been interesting, the way that I rolled anyway. And it would be interesting to see where that went. Here we can also see the Austria-Hungary forces all but dissolved. And, it's just going to be a matter of formality for the forces across the Adriatic Sea now to just sweep on in. The only thing that Germany was trying to do was a last-ditch effort to, come across here and to capture 3 of the 4 cities to make Russia surrender. But as we can see here, the Russians are already coming over by rail. And they move first, so it's almost a moot point. They're going to come over to these 2 cities, and they're going to keep one here. I don't think that city was one of the major ones. Kiev definitely is. And they'll make it over. This unit will come over here to relieve this, and this unit will make it down there in no time. They get to move first. Germany's got no chance to make them surrender. So it's really over at this point. But let's look at turn 10 just for the heck of it. Okay, so I think what I said last time was I said it was mid turn 9. I think it was actually the beginning, because this is what it looks like at the end of turn 9 with Germany just about getting all the cities it needs to make Russia surrender, with the exception of Kiev, which Russia's still in there. The force is just moving on over. Nothing happening, of course, over here. You can just take that to the bank that it's done. And so let's take a look at the end of the game here. And this is what it looks like at the end of turn 10. Now, I went back over the rules, guys. I had to see this, and I was wrong. You don't need, somehow I had the idea that you needed 3 of the 4 cities. You actually need all 4, and that's what I was playing here. The German forces were already in Vilna earlier. That's why they're not there now. And you can move into that, into a hex, move out of it, and still technically be in control here. You don't lose control of it just because you move out. The other forces have to move back in for you to lose it. So Germany's only best bet was they weren't going to get it to retreat. With this amount of resource points, They weren't going to retreat. They had to surround it, and by it is right here. They have done that. They can't, because the zones of control. Russia has no way to get supplies, so they will lose that, but they don't lose the hex, because not right away anyway. They would have to get another turn in there, because when you lose that hex because of supply, it's not an attack. So Russia doesn't get the free movement to go in there. Otherwise, they would have gotten the victory points, the whole whopping 10. Or was it 10? How many is that? It says right here. I can't even see it. It would have been, probably would have been 10 or less. It wouldn't have mattered too much, but that's what it would have been for that. And as we could see, just the big sweep coming from all the other units, nothing happening over here. So that is the game, and it's definitely an Allied victory. Well, everybody, I had a lot of fun playing this game, and I can't wait to play it again. I mean, granted, a lot of that has to do with the replayability because of all the flubs that I made in the game strategically wise, from the Germans not attacking hard enough to make everybody else spend the CRP, to not crossing the Adriatic Sea early enough with the Allied forces. From the whole debacle of the Austro-Hungary Russian forces surrounding each other, the Russian strategy to actually try to push through to the other side to make Austro-Hungary supply lines collapse quicker, and Germany's not going after Russian surrender very early on either to capture those major number of points they need to in this game. But now the only thing I really still don't know, I mean, obviously those strategies, if I were to play it again, those are the things that I would change, right? And those are pretty obvious. I still don't understand how the other countries come into play in the game, and because they seem so weak, and it's almost fiddly, to the point of like, where would these guys come in other than to just make it so to cut off supply points? That might be the only thing. That they may not be very forceful, but they do have zones of control nonetheless. Maybe that's what it's all about. Let me know in the comments down below if you know, and so I can get an idea of that which is going on. And have you played the free deployment game rather than the historic game? Does it really change things? Let me know. I really want to figure it out. Anyway, guys, if you haven't played this game, it might be a little bit expensive to get anymore on eBay, maybe $30-40. I would still think it's worth it. There's a lot of games out there that you would spend more on and get much less. Guys, that's a video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.